Thank you. Thank you very much for joining the USDA SBIR STTR application workshop. This is our first application workshop, so we're very excited to have you here, and we hope you'll find this information very valuable. I'm Melinda Kaufman. I'm the SBIR STTR program coordinator for USDA, and we're housed within the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, or NIFA. Next slide, please. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to just do a really brief introduction to the USDA SBIR STTR program. Some of you may have seen these slides before, but some of you probably have not. So we just chose a few slides, and we're going to just give you this brief introduction to our program. And then we'll move into preparing your SBIR or STTR application. What do you want to do before you start on it? How to build a strong application, understanding the evaluation criteria, and then other key information that we believe you'll find very helpful. And then we'll talk about resources and have a question and answer period. This is the USDA non-discrimination statement. And while I'm not going to read it to you in full, I will summarize it, but I want you to know that we take it very seriously here at NIFA and the SBIR STTR program. The USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. And additional details are included on this slide, and a link to USDA's non-discrimination statement, 508 compliance, and filing discrimination complaints. We encourage all of the audience members to reference this slide if you have any questions or concerns. This is the introduction to the USDA SBIR STTR program. And as I said, some of you may have seen these slides, but some of you have not. So we're just going to use a few of them. This slide is just to demonstrate what agriculture is about. Agriculture is very much a scientific and technical field. And so we use all types of science. And what I would like to encourage is if you have a scientific innovation, it might be worth taking the time to think through whether there's an agricultural application for your innovation, because we work in all of these areas and many more areas of science. These are our 10 topic areas. There are 10 topic areas for USDA, SBIR, and STTR. They are the same topic areas for both programs, for SBIR and STTR. And these topic areas are very broad, and together they incorporate all of agriculture, and they're broad and flexible. We like to cast a wide net so we can capture innovations. We encourage you to go to our website and look at more details about these 10 topic areas. A little bit about SBIR and STTR eligibility. So you have to be a small business that is for-profit, no nonprofits, and you have to be operating in the US, and the research should be performed in the United States. So more than 50%, it has to be owned and controlled by a US citizen or a permanent resident. And then as a small business, that means you have no more than 500 employees, and that includes affiliates. So there are 3 phases to all SBIR STTR programs. And for USDA, phase 1, the award amounts range from $125,000 to $175,000. And the project period is 8 months for SBIR and 12 months for STTR. So phase 1 is mainly to establish the feasibility of your project. You'll do some proof of concept research and just make that baseline case that this is a feasible scientific or technical project and that you can move forward with it. In phase 2, all 10 topic areas are funded at $600,000, and that period of performance is 24 months for both SBIR and STTR. So what are you doing in phase 2? In phase 2, you're going to continue some of the phase 1 research and development, but you're also going to start building the commercial potential. Start with the commercialization process and start making that, as important and as part of the project as the research and development. And then you go to market from there, which is phase 3. Phase 3 and going to market is not typically funded by the U.S. government. It is where you find funding from other investors, and you really are in that part. When you go to market, you're really focused on commercializing that product. So since we do have SBIR and STTR, STTR was new to us in FY23. We put together this slide, which is helping you choose which one is right for you. And so you can choose SBIR, STTR, or when you apply, you can apply for both or either. And I'll explain that as we go along. So you will work with a nonprofit research institution or a federally funded research and development center. And that participation is optional for SBIR. You may do that. For STTR, you must do that. And if you apply for both in your application, then you must do that. The percent of participation for the nonprofit research institution or federally funded R&D center is different with SBIR and STTR. It's 33% or less for phase 1 in SBIR and up to 50% in phase 2. For STTR, it's 30 to 60% in both phase 1 and phase 2. And then if you want to apply for both, then those numbers are 30 to 33% for phase 1. That would qualify you for both to apply for both SBIR and STTR or either, and then 30 to 50% in phase 2. The primary employment of the principal investigator, the principal investigator must be employed with a small business for SBIR. For STTR, he can be employed either with a small business or the nonprofit and research institution. And for both, it must be employed with a small business. Formal cooperative agreements required outlining intellectual property rights. That is for STTR, it is required. For SBIR, it is not required. And if you apply for either, then it is required. So the applicant must be a small business, not a research or in a research institution or an individual. It has to be in the name of the small business. And the award also goes to the small business, not the research institution or not the individual.
All right, thank you, Melinda, for giving the general overview. I'm going to invite Ms. Tammy Neville to talk about how to prepare the SBIR-STTR application and what you need to do before you even start. Tammy?
Thank you. So we're going to go through a few slides here to talk about what you need to do before you start to get to your application deadline. These are things that you should be doing well in advance of the solicitation, even coming out and being available. We do have on our website we always have the previous year, fiscal year's request for application or RFA. Our RFAs usually do not change drastically from year to year, but we do highly recommend that when the new RFA is published, You do go through it thoroughly to make sure that if there's any changes, maybe it's with formatting of the summary or the project narrative, just to make sure that you're writing to the most recent solicitation. The RFA will have all of the pertinent information for required documents and proper formatting for your application. Second, we've had a couple questions already come in the chat box about determining topic area. Because we have so many broad topic areas, you might find that you might fit into several different topic areas, and you might think, hey, I can just put in one application, I'll put it into 3 different topic areas, and we'll go from there. Unfortunately, that's not allowed. You have to you have to have distinctly different applications if you are going to apply for different topic areas. So we highly recommend that you reach out to the National Program Leader or NPL that oversees the topic area to make sure that your research idea is a good fit for their topic area. If you're thinking or considering multiple topic areas, then we also have an overall National Program Leader, Dr. David Songstad, who can meet with you to talk about the different topic areas to help you decide. At the end of the day, none of our national program leaders or staff can tell you which topic area to apply to, but they can describe the topic areas for you to find the one that you think is the best fit for you. Determining the proper topic area is really important, because if your proposal is evaluated outside by a peer review panel that doesn't understand your proposal, you may not get the best reviews. There are some registrations that are required prior to application, and some of these can take some time. So the next couple slides will go through the registrations required. If you could go to the next slide, please. The first registration we're going to talk about is SAM.gov. This registration can take a bit of time. So go to SAM.gov, register your company as an entity, and obtain a unique entity identifier or UEI number. It is important to note that you need to update this every year. And so if you think, oh, I did that last time, I'll be good, make sure that your UEI is active before you get into the application process, because that number is essential. Next slide, please. After you obtain your UEI, you can set up an account on grants.gov, which is going to be the platform that you are going to fill out your application on. If you go to the applicants tab, then you'll see the down below in the picture with the red box, it says get registered. You can go there to register on grants.gov, and so that you'll have access to the application platform to fill that application out when when the RFA is published. I'd like to note that the grants.gov can also have, you can go there for notifications within your account. You can be notified when a solicitation is published, or if there's updates after the solicitation is published. And so stop by grants.gov, get yourself registered. You can sign up for those notifications even if you don't have a UEI number, but to get to the application platform, you do need that UEI number. Next slide, please. The last registration is SBIR.gov. For this one, you're also going to need your UEI number. So you can see that going to SAM.gov is really important to go there first so that you can get your UEI number. Visit SBIR.gov /registration, in order to fill out your SBIR registration and receive what they will call an SBC control number, which will be, there will be a blank on one of the forms to fill out that SBC number. Next slide. As I hinted at earlier, that SAM.gov entity registration can take a bit of time. Sometimes it can be completed within a few weeks, but there have been instances where this could go on, where this registration process could go on for 5 weeks or even longer. And so make sure that if you're considering about applying, that you are getting that first step done and obtaining that UEI number. And again, annual updates are required. So make sure your entity is registered and has an annual and is renewed with SAM.gov. I believe at this time I switch things over to Narun to take over with building a strong application.
All right, thank you, Tammy. So I do see a couple of questions on the chat. Please remember that we will have 30 minutes question and answer session at the end of this presentation. If you feel to write down your question in the chat, you can do that. After our presentation, we'll come back to your question and answer. Second question I do have that someone asked, are those PowerPoint presentation slides would be available? Yes. All those slides and our webinar would be posted in our website probably in a week. So check out sometimes next week, it should be posted in our website. Thank you. So let's get back to some of the requirements or core things that we put together, thinking how you can make your application strong once you are submitting your SBIRSTTR application. So to begin with, I'll just look at just to think about it, once you are an applicant, what USDA SBIRSTTR program is looking for. Is there a particular thing they are looking for? Yes. So we come up with a couple important things that you need to know. First of all, is the innovative ideas. This is the biggest thing you could think of once you are ready to apply for SBIRSTTR. What is your novel technology or improvement to current available technology? Think about that first. So if it is a really new, not known source of innovation and highly risky, keep in mind that USDA do not shy away from high risk, high reward project. If something is really interesting, if it may or may not work, we are okay with those sorts of applications. And sometimes we always say that we welcome those applications. So innovative idea would be your first bet to think about it once you are applying. The second one is your commercial impact. Does your technology have potential to reach the market, or what it would provide the benefits for your community or the society? So that's the second one you need to think of. Another two things you need to think in terms of once you are applying or preparing your application is that budget is limited. Our budget based on different program areas, 125,000 to 175,000. So if you apply something more than that, 190 or 200,000, you are automatically not be competitive in this program because funding budget is not within our limit. The second one is that duration. Our SBIR program for phase 1 is a short term, 8 months, because it's just a feasibility test or proof of concept test. So it is small amount of duration. And for STTR is 12 months. But keep in mind that we understand all the agricultural things that is sometimes take regarding the season, right? If summer season is gone, you need the market. You need to test something in the field. We understand that concept. So we do have 12 months no cost extension criteria in our duration as well. So number 4 that we have in our list, focus on your research. So phase 1 project, as I said, is more of sorts of feasibility testing or your focus of proof of concept testing, and consider the potential market fit. That's the 2 best thing you could think of. And also note that this phase 1 is a required prerequisite for your phase 2. Without going through phase 1, no one can directly apply for USDA phase 2 program. So this is a prerequisite. So what are the key factors for success? And I probably told you a little bit on that, but summarize in a key points here. Number one, innovative ideas. There is no substitute of that. You have to have this high scientific and technical merit and commercial potential for your ideas. So that's the first thing. The second thing I will say, market knowledge. You have to have clear understanding how your technology is kind of visible to enter on the market or sustainability in the market. Think about that market knowledge. Letters of support is a big indication that market validation and technical support for your proposed innovation. So we really encourage you to make your application really strong by including really good letters of support from your stakeholders, meaning that who are the potential customers for your technology? Who are the end user, or who are the partners or investors? Think about that for your letters of support. Then it comes back to the strong agreement. That's another really good piece for making your application very strong, and we'll go through a little bit later also in more details. So strong agreement is between different lab, federal lab or consultant. So we tell it CRADA or CRADA, however you said it, is a cooperative research and development agreement. So usually it is with a federal USDA lab or other federal lab may also be beneficial by proposing this. So if your application involved the subcontracts or consultants and involved with a CRADA partner, it is a strong applicant. Lastly, think about business expertise. If you have innovative idea, but really do not have any business expertise in your team, think about hiring a consultant who does have that business expertise and include them as a part of your team to be successful. So those are sorts of key points, but we'll go through a little bit details, individual pieces. So as an applicant, I think that everyone, once they are ready to apply for SBIRSTTR, some of the fundamental questions come in mind that, okay, what is SBIRSTTR? Who are the new applicant they may ask? And what is included on the USDA SBIRSTTR award? What is the fund? What is the duration? When are the application due? Who is eligible? So some of those question answer, you see that Melinda Kaufman already mentioned in the introduction of SBIRSTTR program, but all of those questions in addition to other questions, what are the key components of the application? How the award will be issued and managed, and who can I talk about this solicitation? I have question. Who can answer my question, and what this word mean, what that words mean? Anything you need in terms of fundamentals of the application or question comes in your mind, you probably can find answer in all those questions within the RFA. So this RFA is the critical piece once you are thinking to apply for SBIRSTTR application, or to be honest, in any application. So you will see that I will come back every time RFA and RFA, because this is the one piece that we kind of think that is sort of a Bible once you are thinking to apply for any fund. So RFA is a request for application. We encourage all of you, even though you are not a student, become a student of the RFA, meaning that read through the RFA to understand the goals of the program. What are the technical, we always do technical assistant webinar after our RFA is published. So please attend those. If you cannot attend those, always the recordings will be also in our website. So always watch those and make sure that you understand what are the new RFA has new requirements or not. So we will make sure that you do that. Understand the instruction in the RFA, how to assemble the proposals. Well, what are the key pieces? Everything is outlined in RFA. So I cannot put more emphasis many times, read the RFA, because that will probably have all the questions that you need to answer, or you want the answer to prepare your application. Keep in mind, RFA is the main thing, and then the secondary supplementary information or resources is NEPA Grant Application Guide. This is very resourceful information too. Grant Application Guide has really step-by-step designing how you kind of prepare your application. It's a general NEPA grant guide. If there is any discrepancy between RFA and grant application guide, be mindful that RFA always subsidize the grant application guide. You have to follow all the rules listed in the RFA. So grant application guides is a supplementary information. Look for it. It is useful. A lot of people say it is useful. So please look at that. But then RFA is the final thing you have to kind of follow through. I'm talking about that you need to be student of the RFA. So thinking about how the RFA you're going to read through. So looking at the structure of any competitive RFA from USDA, you basically are looking for one big executive summary, not really big. Sometimes it's 2 paragraphs to 2 pages. So one executive summary and then 7 main parts. And those 7 main parts that I listed here from part 1 to part 7, you can look at those. Funding opportunity description, award info, eligibility, application submission information, all those things are within those main parts. So you can go to exactly the part you need to know and then look for the information that it is listed. So knowing that structure of the RFA sometimes is useful. Now, RFA is a little bit bigger documents, and sometimes we see that our applicant get a little bit lost on what are the required one, what would be the good one to have. So we are trying to break it down to make it easier for you. What are the required items once you are submitting your application? 4 things, 4 items. If you do not have that in your application, this is going to be declined to begin with our admin review. The application will not have any opportunity to go to the peer review panel. So those are really, really required items. What are those items? Number 1, you have to have in your application the project summary or abstract. That's a must one. The second one is project narrative. So that project narrative actually answer all of those questions that we have been discussing, and we'll go a little bit detailed. So project narrative is a really required document. Number 3 is your budget, because we need to know what is your budget looks like. Are those following within our budget limit and what you are asking for? And the number 4 is a new addition to our system. It's a disclosure form we'll be needing from next year applicant. All the SBIRSTTR applicants must disclose their foreign relationship as a requirement. So this is a new congressional requirement, Extension Act of 2022. So this disclose form, even though you feel that you do not have any foreign relationship, but you must complete this form to certify that such relationship do not exist. Failure to include this form in your application, decline your application without review to the peer review panel. So keep in mind, very important, new addition is the disclosure form. So those are really important, but other necessary items that's really important once your application goes to the peer review panel. Those would be, you have to have key personal bio sketches. You already added budget, so now you need to add budget justification. How do you justify your budget? And then we would like to know conflict of interest list for not only PD and all co-PDs conflict of interest list should be providing. And there is a form or template, how to include that in the NIFA application guide. It is included. It is also included in our website FAQ questionnaire as well. So conflict of interest list should be given. Current and pending support for PD and co-PD. Keep in mind, sometimes we do not see that current and pending support. Applicants say that, hey, I do not have any other funding. Remember that the one you are applying to the NIFA, USDA SBIR, STTR, that is your pending. So the application you are submitting as at least list that one as a pending one. We really want that form to fill out. If nothing else, at least that one should be on your pending. Also include the bibliography, and that is important for peer review panel. Once a reviewer is looking your project narrative, they need to justify a lot of your lit review, if it is in the right format or not, including bibliography is important. And TABA request, we do have technical, what is TABA, Tammy? Technical and business assistance. Yeah. Technical and business assistance. So if you have request or not, include that one. And Tammy also mentioned valid SBC, small business control number. So those are the necessary items we are looking for. So keep in mind, this is a really, really important slide that I want to kind of try people to kind of making a checklist. Once we are applying, have I included this, have I included this, make a checklist of this one. Now let's go back on the required item one by one about summary, project, narrative, and budget. So especially on the project summary, must be 250 words or less. And there is a template available. There is a link on there in the slide. You can go on that link and make sure that you do not exceed 250 words limit. NIFA will not review application that exceed the required 250 word limit. So make sure that you understand that. And what to include in project summary? Couple things you could include. The first of all, include the description of your problem or the opportunity, what you are proposing, what is your project objectives, and what are the small description of the effort that you're going to do. You should also include one paragraph of anticipated results or potential commercial application of your research that you are proposing, and then also summary of your project with key information highlighted, always helpful for project summary. So these are the things you need to think about once you are putting on your project summary. Please do not include any confidential information, because sometimes project summary goes to the public side. We do not want you to include any confidential information. So this is the most important one, I will say, project narrative. Let's go back and sort of look at what you need to do in the project narrative. First of all, the requirement is you cannot exceed 17 pages. So you have to have, you must keep it at 17 pages. Anything goes beyond 70 pages, 1 line, 2 lines, 1 paragraph, everything gonna be declined without any question. So make sure that your project narrative does not go beyond 17 pages. It's really, really important to make sure that it's within that. Now, what are the things you're gonna include on the project narrative? Couple things, and these are the list of questions I think it's really important. First of all, you wanna say, how does your project align with the USDA SBIR STTR program priorities, right? So SBIR STTR program actually align with the USDA strategic goals, and you have to indicate if the application has a connection to the agriculture related manufacture, technology, energy efficiency, alternate renewable energy, or anything related. So you have to provide a brief explanation how this application is related to area included on the priority area. So that's the first thing you need to do. Second, what is the problem or the opportunity, and why is it that important? So you have to clearly state the specific technical problem and the opportunity and its importance. That's important. Number 3, you need to write down the background or the technical approach and market need. These must include a statement of end user need. So you have to describe how the proposed research plays a part in providing needed results. So this section is really critical that application adequately cite relevant literature review. If it is based on scientific literature, demonstrate support for your proposed research. So really important. So then you go back, what results are expected, and what are the benefits, the estimated cost, policy issues that might stand in the way of your success. Clearly clarifying those really helps peer review panel to move on. Is the project scientifically or technically feasible, and how? So this technical question needed to be established, and then feasibility of the proposed approach should be clearly outlined. Next one, what is your work plan? To my opinion, this is the most critical piece on your narrative, because you need to have a detailed description of the research or any of the research and development approach that you are taking. Your plan should list the task that needs to be performed, and it will need to provide details of the methodology that will be used for each of those tasks. You need to also indicate how and where the work will be carried out. And also you need to determine the technical feasibility of the proposed concept, right? The work plan also should link with the technical objective of the research. So it has a really good portion of the project narrative, and it can include any sorts of graphics, tables, charts to make it easier, because this is the work plan peer review panel look very close attention, how you are planning and how it is linked with your project objective and individual tasks they are outlining. Very, very important. Next one is your market opportunity. So are there any research efforts that are directly related to your project? Describe your customers and your basic go-to-market strategy, how you're going to achieve those market opportunity. Describe any competition you see. How do you expect the competitive landscape may change by the time of your product or service in the market? What are the key risks you are thinking for your innovation in the market? And describe your commercialization approach. Discuss the potential impact that's going to bring this innovation to the market and how it's going to impact the society or the community. Having those all market potential really strengthen your application. And that's why one of the key success component we said that bring back a business expertise so that they can focus on this part of your application. The last, does your project have a market potential? Who are your customers and competitors? So that's all I'm just saying. Think about those upfront, list them. If you do not have a clear idea, what is the expectation? How do you see that market evolve? What are the challenges you see? All those need to be included in your project narrative. Very, very important one. Now, one of the components in the project narrative we will see in the RFA is the resubmission, meaning you have applied one previously in phase one, you are not successful, but I will say that it's always important to resubmit. I cannot emphasize it more than enough. It's really important because you have good chance to make your application really strong. Once you are not successful, still you got back all the comments from the reviewer. So comments from the individual reviewer, you get a clue how to improve your application. That's huge. That's huge to me. So resubmission, once you are doing resubmission, always provide a response to reviewer feedback from previous application. You list all those things in a one page saying that we responded to reviewers' feedback, taking this and how you're going to change that application. So make those comments to make your application strong. Also, response in one page, how did you include all those reviewer comments to make your application strong? So that is really important. So we suggest that look closely the review comments, tweak your application, making sure that you take those comments and improve your application and resubmit. Resubmission is really the key to be successful. And I'll show you that it's really, really competitive. Once you are not successful at the first time, does not mean that your idea is not innovative. It is one of the reasons is we have limited budget to give for awards. So it did not probably cut on the competition on the top, but at all it does not mean that idea is not innovative or good. So trying with making application a little bit stronger, everyone should do that. So project narrative is a little bit longer, I will say, and that's the main component in terms of your technical merit. So some of the tips I would like to give you. What are the tips could be project narrative from our side? We say that provide comprehensive information. You see the list of things in the project narrative. You will see that list from A to J probably in the RFA as well. All those questions you have to answer. Having the 3 or 4 pages, when we ask for 17 pages, maybe you could not summarize everything on 4 pages. So we'll say that try to answer all those questions listed. So give a little bit comprehensive information. Once you give all those comprehensive information, sometimes it's really difficult and some writing can get a little bit lost. So I will make sure to remind you that please think you're writing the proposal a little bit logically and clearly. Organize your proposal according to the outline in RFA that I'm saying that all the question from A to J, or evaluation criteria, whichever is most logical for you. We'll go through the evaluation criteria so you will know what are those. So either one, follow RFA or evaluation criteria and try to answer everything logically. Each reviewer get 10 to 12 proposal to review And if you make those sorts of a step-by-step logically, it's easy for reviewer to review your application and not kind of looking for information here and there. So that is good if you kind of can do that one. Following the prescribed format helps reviewers and find information more easily, obviously, so they do not get bogged out and looking information here and there. As I told you before, sometimes rather than writing, a picture can convey message very clearly. So tables and figures would be useful to illustrate your important points. Remember the 4 C's. 4 C's are compelling, clear, concise, and complete. Always finish your writing, kind of a look back with your second eye, ask a friend, colleague, or someone else who does not know your innovation ideas, and ask them to read and give you some feedback. Once you get the feedback, reread that one and remember that, is it compelling? Is it clear to everyone? Is it concise and complete? Asking those questions sometimes very helpful to kind of make your application strong. Now, looking at the budget, prepare budget with a strong justification. We mentioned that your budget cannot be more than 175,000. It's between 125 to 175, depending on topic area. And then think about period of performance. You are looking at 8 to 12 months. And once you are putting the budget, the outsourcing has a limit because you can apply for SBIR, STTR, or both. Both meaning it can fall either SBIR or STTR. Melinda mentioned those differences between SBIR, STTR both. And outsourcing for SBIR 33% maximum, you can outsource for the project. For STTR, at least 30% of the project, but cannot exceed 60%. For both, it is a sweet spot in between SBIR and STTR, so it's between 30 to 33% of the project could be outsourcing. Salaries require name, title of each person, and how the requested salary was determined. Do not forget to include the fringe benefits, equipment, material supplies, consultants, and all those lists. Fee for profit allowable. For NIFA, it is not to exceed 7%. What to include in additional forms? So those are important to make a clear and like full application. You need letters of support. We emphasize very much to include letters of support. Do not try to include 30 different letters of support. We do not know any good number, but whatever is relevant, do it, but do not overboard with 30, 40 letters of support. Facilities and instrumentation, you can include those information in additional form. Key personal bio sketches, budget justification, subcontract information if you need, conflict of interest list, another one, current and pending. So fill out all those forms completely and correctly. USDA NIFA always invites our applicant to reach out to us and ask if you need any sorts of clarifying questions. So if you are confused about template, you need any clarification, please make sure that you reach out to us at sbir@usda.gov. So now we'll go through a little bit with the evaluation criteria. So Tammy, do you want to start the evaluation criteria once they are applying? Because looking at the evaluation criteria, understanding them really helps them to strengthen their application.
Yes, thank you, Narun. So I'm going to start out with evaluation criteria. I am going to point out we are about halfway through our reserved time for the webinar, and we do still have a bit of material left. We want to leave some time at the end for questions. And so we are going to get through as much as we can here.
Yeah.
It's really important to note that the evaluation criteria, the exact criteria that your application will be reviewed for by our peer review panel is listed in the RFA. It's broken into the 6 different components that you see on the screen. And it's really important to understand these 6 review criteria in order to build and craft a strong funding application where you can be compelling, as Narun indicated, for the review panel to find your proposal favorably. So we're going to go into a little bit of detail about each of these criteria. Next slide, please. The first one is to demonstrate your project's fit in your application. There are some questions with scientific and technical feasibility that are listed in the RFA that you can use in order to prepare your SBIR and STTR funding application. Make sure that you address the different questions that are included in scientific and technical feasibility in order to convey the your project to that peer review panel. Have somebody outside of your application circle, review your application and look at each of these criterion to see, did you address these? So we'll go to the next question, the next slide. Market potential. You know, for phase one, that's really a proof of concept phase. And so we don't expect you to have an elaborate commercialization plan that has a ton of detail, but the points that are listed here under market potential should be considered and addressed within your application packet. Why would you want USDA to support your project? What's the outcome at the end? What is going to be your marketable product that is going to lead to a yield for your company? Think about your target market. Understand your target market and what your potential competitors are providing and how you can set yourself apart from those competitors. If you don't have somebody within your team that has technical and business skills, acknowledge that and either find a TABA, which was technical and business assistance vendor, or for phase one, you can elect to use the USDA TABA vendor. If you have no clue to where even start to look for a TABA vendor, we have one available for you. So make sure that you realize the weaknesses that you have if they do exist in that technical and business section of the application. If you've commercialized a product before, that adds strength to your potential to commercialize again. So if you have done that, address it. If you haven't, it's not a black mark against your application, but it is important to note it if you have accomplished that. And then when we talk about the support letters, think about relevant stakeholders. Are those, whether they're end users, whether there's somebody who might invest in your company in the future, think about who those individuals or who those companies might be, and reach out and ask if they can write a letter of support. Have a brief meeting with them, talk about your project. If your company is really new, like I said, proof of concept stage, that indicates really new into the market, really new company or really new idea. You may not have a target for stakeholders or investors. And if you don't, then providing a brief justification as to why you don't have those letters of support. I guess I'm supposed to move on. Thank you, Narun. I guess you're taking over now.
All right, thank you. So one thing, Tammy, I was just thinking, because the time is squeezed and all those questions for the evaluation criteria are in the slide that we'll be posting. Maybe we do not need to go through one by one. The key points Tammy mentioned about the evaluation criteria, finding out the importance of finding out technical feasibility, finding out that support letters, who you're gonna get from, all those important. So here, another one is the importance of the problem. And once we are talking about project narrative, we mentioned a little bit about that. Does your project address or achieve any of the following goals? Like how it is sustainable production system it can, does it like all those economic, global competitiveness, economic opportunity, quality of life of the community, blah, 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 all those things. So this will be at least sort of a going back and see if your application has those or not. So going back to the next one quickly is that we also say that investigator and resource qualification. So for your team members to strengthen that, we say that think about it. You have an innovative idea. Do you have right people to make your idea successful? So you think about university folks, federal labs, or other people, and it is always good to bring back different expertise, business expertise, technical expertise to be successful. Think about how do you make those different expertise in your team to make your application stronger and your project to be successful. One of the things we mentioned about making a source of agreement about CREDA. So I'm going to go a little bit talk about the CREDA. So CREDA is the Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, and it is with the federal lab or federal license innovation. And CREDA is a really good factor to consider in your application because we do count in the review process. If 2 or more applications are of equal merit, then CREDA will be an important consideration or a tiebreaker. So think about sorts of a pairing up with a federal lab and creating a CREDA. Another quick thing is the budget. Reminding again, budget, please make sure that it is within limit. Sometimes we see is beyond within limit that we feel kind of sorry to kind of decline that proposal. So make sure that your budget is always within limit, and then you provide detailed breakdown how you plan using the funds. Don't put everything to salaries. Don't put everything to the purchase of equipment because it's not an equipment purchase grant. So make sure that you justify the component and carefully choose the options. One of the things Tammy mentioned briefly that think about, is it your original idea or that you are having, or is it a duplication? Did someone have that idea before? What makes your project unique from others? So mentioning that duplication effort in a paragraph directly to the peer review panel is really useful. So those are the evaluation criteria. You look at the RFA or evaluation criteria, follow one of the guidelines. And so once you write your application, please always try to remember and check back, have I met that? Have I met that? And tick mark and go for the next one. That will automatically strengthen your application really strong. Now, going back, preparing the other key information for your application prep is going to be useful. I think this is a little bit straightforward, but we see a lot of difficulties for our applicant not having in the right format. So Tammy, can you disclose some of those, what needs to be done in terms of formatting?
Yes, if we haven't mentioned it before, we need to make sure that all of your attachments that you put into your application are included as a PDF. Your project narrative, your budget, if you create it in Excel, convert it to a PDF. Make sure that everything that you upload into grants.gov is uploaded as a PDF. For margins should be 1 inch, font size no smaller than 12 point Times New Roman unless you have a table or figure. In that case, you can use 11 point Times New Roman or smaller. For your project narrative, your line spacing should be set at 1.5, not at single line spacing, not at double line spacing, but at 1.5. And again, repeating what Narun said earlier, there's 17 pages allowed for that project narrative. And if you do have a resubmission, you can have up to 18 pages. You get that bonus page for the resubmission. Next slide. You might be wondering how to create a PDF. When you're in Word, if you click on the File tab, the blue bar shows up and you can scroll down like you would be going to print, but you can just go and say Save as PDF and it will automatically save your Word document as a PDF. We're looking at an application timeline. How soon should I start preparing for my application? The answer is you can't start soon enough. Up to 1 year prior to the deadline, you can start getting your registrations with SAM.gov, with grants.gov, with SBIR.gov. You can read the previous RFA, as I said, 6 months, reach up to the deadline, reach out to the national program leader. Talk about fit to the topic area. Make sure you're selecting the correct topic area. 4 months to the deadline, start reaching out to those stakeholders, those potential investors, any contractors or consultants that you're going to hire to fill gaps that you might have within your application. Start collecting your letters of support for those people. 2 months prior to the deadline, start reviewing the RFA because it's published then, and start working on your actual application. 1 week prior to the deadline, please submit your application early. There are times where there's technical issues at the last minute that cause an application to be submitted at 5:01 p.m. Eastern time, and we are unable to make an exception and allow that proposal to be evaluated because it was late. It's unfair to the rest of the applicant pool who got their applications submitted on time. So make sure you submit that early. You can always go back in, review your submission, and if you need to make any small last minute changes that would maybe not be as critical as completely missing a deadline, go ahead and submit those during that last week leading up to the deadline. But please, can't emphasize strongly enough, please submit early.
Thank you, Tammy. And sometimes I hear comments from peer review panel that they can really, once they read your application, they can see it. If it is a last minute put down proposal or it is well thought, taking time, reviewed, edit. So make sure that those are all expert people. They're looking at your proposal. They will know if it is a last minute one. So make sure start early, work through, visit, revisit, re-edit, and then submit. All right, so let's kind of remind you application to work timeline for our phase 1. So we are hoping our solicitation would be released sometimes in July. Check in our NEPA SBIR website for the RFA. Proposed deadline would be sometimes in September. That's we are still planning. And I'll mention that any time of submission deadline would be 5 p.m. Eastern time. Keep in mind, if you submit 501, it's going to be declined as a late because we have to catch up at certain point that's the limit. So do it early, as Tammy every time mentioned that early is the best. Do not cross that 1 second, 1 minute, then you are sort of in that line, it is accepted or not. Please do it early. So we do have a peer review panel process. It's an extensive one. As a USDA NEPA employee, we do administer the whole process. We do not participate in the peer review panel. Our peer review panel are the experts from the university, federal lab, and industry. And we go through the extensive NEPA peer review process that takes time. So around December to February, the whole 3-month cycle is going to go to the peer review process. And then in July, we are hoping to get that award started, begin your SBIR or STTR funded projects, but hoping that in March and April, you will get notified in terms of if you have a recommended your proposal or not. Going back to the review process, again, as a peer review panel or expert, they make their decision, send the reviewer comments. So we always share your reviewer comments with our applicant. If your proposal is successful, you get that comment. If your proposal is not successful, you still get individual reviewers' comments. So if you get the comments and if you get the award, congratulations, good luck, start with your proposal, different objective and task. We are happy for you. If not, please reapply and resubmit because you do get all those reviewer comments. That's a plus for you. Work on that, submit it in next year. Why I propose to submit in next year and remind you because of this competitive one. Think about that. Fiscal year 22 and even 21 is around 15%. So our success rate is really low, very competitive nature of phase 1. 15% only awarded. And then fiscal year 23, we have a little bit more budget. We also had STTR. So our project success rate is little high, 16.8%. But to be honest, very, very competitive nature. So do not get encouraged. If you are not successful in the first time, take your comments seriously, tweak your proposal, please resubmit. So at the end, I'm going to remind you a couple of things that are going to be helpful for you. Always provide a vision. What is the vision? Focus on your market opportunity, technical feasibility and market opportunity. That's the biggest thing to remember. Sell the importance of your project and how it is aligned with our USDA priorities. That's next one. Provide detailed experimental plan. For 8 months project or 12 months project, do not come with list of objective and tasks that everyone knows on the panel that's not doable, because those are the expert people. They know how long it takes to complete individual tasks. Make it realistic, whatever you can, but whatever you can, you decide and then put down a detailed plan how you're going to do that. Provide very much insight in the commercial potential. You don't have to come up with the full commercial potential, but have to have good insight on that. Show connectivity with the communities by the support letter. Those are the things to remember. We're getting almost close to the end. We are having the last component, some of the additional resources. Keep in mind, RFA is the biggest thing you need. And then we do have some of the resources that I request Melinda Kaufman to go through with that.
Thank you, Narun. And I'll go through these quickly so that we make sure we have time for questions. I think we've been trying to answer questions, especially Tammy in the chat as we go along, but we want to make sure we have time for some more questions. So these are some additional application resources. The NIFA grant application guide is available. I think it was mentioned before. The RFA always takes precedence over the NIFA application guide, but the NIFA application guide has some invaluable information, and I encourage you to look at that if you're going to apply. I encourage you now, if you think you're going to apply, to go to the USDA SBIR STTR website and look at our FAQs. And look at everything actually on the website, but the FAQs may be particularly important. I also look at the topic areas. And then there is a USDA SBIR application tutorial, and that you may find very helpful. So I really encourage you to look at that. These are SBIR and STTR, mainly SBIR funded projects from previous years because STTR is new. So here are some websites you can go to look at some of these projects that give you a synopsis of the projects. They don't give away any proprietary information. So that's really important. We keep that under lock and key, but it will give you a flavor for what kind of projects have been funded in the past. So that's a good resource. Other additional resources, please attend some more informational sessions that we'll be having. Do those one-on-one meetings with the national program leaders. Contact national program leaders to like our David Songstad, our SBIR, STTR national program leader. If you have a question about your topic area fit, he can be very helpful with that. And then local resources. These are very, very important. There are lots of local resources, and go to their FAST programs, and those are created mainly for women and socially and economically disadvantaged individuals and businesses that are located in hub zones. And small business development centers, there are many of them. There's more than one in there's 62, I think, in total. And so those are very helpful. And then there's SCORE. That's another, those are business mentors in your area, and you can attend entrepreneurial workshops through SCORE. There's also a website for on the SBIR.gov site that goes by state. So it's a drop-down list with you input your state, and it'll drop down all the resources that are there for assistance within your state. Contact us if you have questions. This is our website. Again, I really encourage you to look at that. And then this is the email, sbir@usda.gov. And this is if you have an idea and want to be having trouble or having difficulty finding a researcher to help you develop a research design for your innovation, go to this, the third line down, researcher-business match inquiry, USDA SBIR at ICF.com. So we want to help people who have trouble getting connected with researchers to have more success with that. So, and then again, I'm Melinda Kaufman. David Songstead is our national program leader. Tammy Neville has been tremendously helpful in presenting and preparing this presentation, is available at SBIR at USDA.gov, and Dr. Nurun Nahar, who has been tremendously helpful also in preparing and presenting this, is also, you can also contact her at SBIR at USDA.gov. And I guess that brings us to the question period.
All right, thank you, Melinda. I thank you everyone for joining here, and I'm gonna move on to Q&A session. So I'll stop sharing so that we can look at closely, because I have difficulties looking at the chat. Once I'm sharing, I'm gonna stop share. And thank you, Tammy. Tammy started answering a lot of questions, but from the audience, you do have a specific question, please raise your hand and we can unmute and let you ask your question.
I think a good question that just recently came up that I didn't want to write a whole bunch about was from Cindy. And Cindy wants us to talk a little bit more about SBIR, STTR, and both, or really, which is either, and what are the advantages, disadvantages to that option. And so I think we should take a few minutes. STTR is a new program for us. And so it's new if everybody is used to coming to USDA stuff and listening to us talk. We've only talked about SBIR prior to this. So Melinda, do you want to talk a little bit more about those programs and the options?
Sure. STTR, allows more participation from the, nonprofit research institution or federal lab. Oftentimes it's a university. So that allows a greater percentage of participation. It allows greater flexibility for the principal investigator, because the principal investigator can be employed either at the nonprofit research institution or the small business. Those are probably the biggest advantages, but I also keep in mind that STTR program is much smaller than the SBIR program. At this point in time, because it's new, our funding is good for STTR. So next year we're expecting to, fund at least one STTR in each topic area. The advantage of being in that sweet spot where you can apply for either SBIR or STTR is that, it just increases your chances. So if that's an option for you, I guess I would actually encourage that.
So sorry to jump in, but so basically you're saying that you would apply meeting the constraints for either that you talked about, the 30 to 33%, and then USDA would decide which way to award it.
Yes, and so a lot of our limitations are around budgets and funding. So that's probably truthfully how it would be decided.
Okay.
Where is the money? Every year, I mean, the reason we only have, I guess this is obvious, but the reason we only have 15% success rate with phase one is because we have so many applicants and there are so many great projects, but we just don't have the budget to fund them. Now we have STTR to boost that a little bit, and so we're excited about that. But that's why we encourage you to reapply, because there are great proposals out there that we can't fund every year.
Thank you very much.
I just want to hop on the end of that, Melinda, and add I had somebody ask me, so does STTR mean that it's not good enough to compete with SBIR? And the truth is absolutely not. Our peer review panels are going to be, have been evaluating these proposals side by side. They're not, it's almost a blind application for them unless they look closely to see what checkbox might be marked. And they are ranked on the exact same ranking board at the end of the peer review panel. And so it is by no means that STTR is an inferior funding source. It's really about what fits you and your company and the research partners that you have or that you source in order to find what works best.
Well said, Tammy. I think that's really important information. Thank you for good questions, Cindy.
That is a good
Any other questions?
I'll just add really quickly onto the end of that is that while I say it's a good strategy to apply for both or either SBIR, STTR, what's really most important is the needs of your project and your innovation. And if one or the other is going to meet that better than doing both, then go that way. If STTR is just a better fit for you, then go with STTR.
I think maybe Pierre might have a question. He keeps popping his camera on and off. And so I'm wondering if that's his signal that he maybe has a question. Do you want to come off mute, Pierre, and
Yes,
ask your question?
Thank you. Does the SBIR allow for animal testing?
Yes.
Yes, as long as it fits within our animal production and protection topic area.
Yeah.
And as a note, if you are doing research on animals, you will have to find an IACUC or Institution of Animal Care and Use Committee that will review your proposal, and you have to have IACUC approval for your research.
Okay.
So if you're not part of an institution or you don't have a collaborator with an institution, you'll have to find some IACUC committee that will review your proposal to give you an approval letter for that.
Okay, and a related question to this, because this is something that I would have a lot of need for. This would be considered as contracting if you get university or a company to evaluate some active on animals for production animals. We still limited by 33% of the award.
If you're going to apply for SBIR, if you have an institutional collaborator and you want to apply for STTR, then you have up to 60% of your budget that can be a subcontract with that research and nonprofit research institution. Okay,
thank you very much.
There's another question that Gavin dropped in the chat that I think is really good. And I'm not sure we have a clear answer, but I think we can come up with something. Can a declined STTR application be resubmitted and use that 18 pages, that extra page, and be submitted as an SBIR in the next funding cycle, or vice versa?
Gavin, that is a good question. I believe the answer is yes. You should make it clear probably in the proposal, just with one line, that it was, submitted last year under whichever you're changing. But yes, you can do that.
But Gavin, I would say that make sure that all those subcontract information, budget information fall from STTR to SBIR, because percent of participation and other things are totally different requirements.
Antonio dropped a question. How could I research community water or wastewater projects? I would encourage you to hop off mute, Antonio. I'm not sure if you're wanting to research what we've already funded, or if you're proposing which topic area you might fit into with that topic.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm a level 2 wastewater operator. I just recently took the base level water exam, which I know I passed. And I've been in wastewater for about 8 years. And I've been picking my brain to trying to find out a better way of source of income, and then a better way for the community, because as I see, there's a need. We test on certain areas in the community, like where it's more than 25 houses or more, they consider that a community. So there's there's a process like for the waste and the water and everything, distribution system and everything. And as I noticed that a lot of people, maybe they might not know where to find water/wastewater operators, or maybe they I don't know, but I know that I came across a site the other day where the grass was high, but we tested where they have to cut the grass. I seen a lot of issues, and I'm just asking because of I want to produce a new service. Can I say a service which can in turn make the environment more better and make the water more clear, because as I'm seeing there's a need, and the water is a #1 source, and it's constantly being tainted through whether that be lack of knowledge, whether that be lack of experienced operators. But I was thinking of multiple things, but I was thinking of like a service for people that have these communities and may not have the resource, or may not have the manpower, or may not even have the funds or the knowledge. Like I was just thinking like more so I can just operate from the water and the wastewater side. I haven't put all my pieces together yet, but I was just wondering, like, is there any insight you can give me, like, as far as where I can research? Does that make sense?
yes, it does. Thank you, Antonio, for your questions. So there are many different routes for USDA funding. SBIRSTTR focus on the innovation, not service. Okay, so the community service-based work, there are some other ag and food research and innovation project focus on. In this case, I understand where you are coming from, source of a service mentality for community, and that's really important. But if you tie that with source of innovation, how are you going to do that? Then it is a good fit for SBIR. But if you are talking solely on the service, but not any technology or innovation, that might not be good fit for this program. But USDA has a lot more other programs that you could think of. But SBIR ties with the innovation, market potential. Think about those two.
And Narun, Antonio, Narun is right. If you have, I will say, if you have, for instance, a service that would be new to or like a rural community, that might fit within topic area 8.6, rural and community development. So USDA in general is really interested in revitalizing and bolstering rural communities, and so we have a topic area for that, and it's broad like the others. It may be the broadest, and you might find something within that topic area. I'd take a look at it on our website if I were you.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Alice has a good question in the chat about duplicate submissions, and I think Narun would be a great one to visit about duplicate submissions. How similar can they be? And if you submit both of the applications to the same topic area, how to proceed. So I think you should work on addressing that one.
Sure, thank you, Alice. So one thing, we do not say that you cannot submit more than one application. You are welcome to submit more than one application, but think truly about submitting 2 applications in one. It has to be really different. Okay, So single PD can submit 2 applications, but once you look at the application, your objective, bigger objective, your task, everything has to be totally separate to count as a 2 different applications. If we can see this is part of the application here and there, main pieces, it's not a distinctly different technology you are proposing. So I will say, do not do that. By doing that, you are competing with yourself, right? You are just adding 2 for your project idea. Rather, we always encourage our PD to sort of strengthen their one proposal and submit it if it is not distinctive ideas. So innovation has little bit branching. Don't go for the 2 or the duplication. Go for one strong application. But if you have totally different ideas and you can put in different proposal as a separate count, yes, go for it. You do not decline those. But make sure that you understand this is totally different ideas. Just here and there little bit piece will not count as a separate. Did I answer your question, Alice, or you want to elaborate more?
That's pretty close. I was wondering if we're interested in developing therapeutics to treat animals for certain parasite diseases, and I was kind of wondering, would it be worth it to put in for 2 different parasite diseases, which require different sort of, would require different types of funding, but it sounds like it's better to just put in 1.
That's one. Saying that if it is a different parasite, if the treatment is totally different, then you can also do separate. So it depends on the proposed one. So in this case, Alice, what I'm going to suggest you, to be honest, write up 2 paragraphs or 1 page of those ideas that you are thinking, either 1 or 2, email to Dr. David Songstead, or have a consultation for 20 minutes, go through with him and see what is his suggestions, because sometimes it makes sense to talk with NPL and come up with the plan.
I'd also like to add on that, think about at the end, we talk about it being a competitive program, but what if both of your proposals are really amazing? Does your company have the capacity to carry out both of those research projects concurrently? And if you don't, then maybe it would be best to stagger those applications. A lot of you guys are working with small startup companies, you have limited labor resources. So think about the potential of staggering a set of applications that might be different as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Gavin's got another question for us. How long to wait before hearing back from a national program leader? They want to be courteous. He wants to be courteous and not hound them too much. But how long should he wait before trying to reach out again if he doesn't have a response?
That's a good question, Gavin. What I would suggest is that you reach out to them again, and then if you CC me in that email, I can help follow up.
The other option, Melinda, to save your inbox is to just CC the SBIR email box, and we can then also forward that to the national program leader and kind of flag up a response for that. Take a little bit of work off of Melinda's plate on that one. So yeah.
Thank you, Tammy. She knows my box is overflowing.
Yeah, and Gavin, I would say that we do have a policy to get back to our applicant or awarded question within 48 hours. And all of our staff and NPL try to do that, but sometimes we are busy with the conference or just traveling, and then you will get those notifications. But if you do not get any response back in a week, is recommended, please reach out the next week. But you will expect, to be honest, within 48 hours if they are available.
And then there's also, Gavin, the option of starting with Dr. Songstad. You could start with him because he does have a lot of knowledge about all of the different topic areas. And in that way you actually, get an extra consult if you start with Dr. Songstad and then move on to the national program later.
Oh, Gavin, don't say that you are a little company. We are working with the all small business companies, right? All of our business are small. So it could be from 1% to 500. We have many, many folks for one person. We really thank all of our applicant and awardees seriously, and we love talking with them and helping them out, 1% or 500 person in their company. We appreciate all the innovative ideas and work you do.
499, Narun.
Okay, less than 500. You are right.
We're getting down here. We've got just a few more minutes left for question and answer. Pierre, you got your camera back on. Do you have another question for us? Or
Yes.
if somebody else has a question, feel free to turn your camera on or come off a mic, raise your hand so that we can call on you. But we'll start with Pierre.
Yeah, so the timeline for applications, you have the RFA in July, and I think the deadline was in September.
Yeah.
I'm taking my situation. There's no way I can do it by September, but maybe December would be good. The application is always, the deadline is only once a year, right?
Right.
So is there a benefit to wait until, let's say, if not going to make it for September 23, is there value to wait until July 24, or could I apply in December 23? Is there any difference in the process?
December,
oh, go ahead, Melinda.
sorry, will be for phase 2. So without a phase 1, then you cannot apply for the phase 2.
Can I press submit anytime for the next?
You have to wait until there's an open solicitation to apply for phase 1.
Yes.
And so for right now, if you're not thinking you'll be ready in September 2023, then you will wait until late June, early July, sometime in July, when we'll publish that of 2024, when we'll publish the next phase 1 RFA.
Right.
So Pierre, I get you what you are coming from. You are thinking, I'm a little late, I'm done. I don't want to wait for next year. I want to submit and get it done. You cannot do that because our fiscal year 24 one, you will be eligible, not 23. So you're going to apply previous year, that's not going to count, number one. Number two, grants.gov has a window of the application submission after the RFA is published.
Yes.
So you have to wait until then, otherwise your application will be lost in a black box. We all know that.
But you could have it already and do what Tammy referred to earlier in the presentation, where you sign up at grants.gov and they'll notify you when the SBIR phase 1 is published, and then you'll be all ready to go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Great! Do things in advance. What a great idea.
I'm dropping in the chat the assistance listing number for if you go to grants.gov, that's going to ask you if you want to sign up for notifications. It's going to ask you for what assistance listing number to sign up for notifications for. Our USDA SBIR STTR programs are under assistance listing number 10.212. And that information is also on our main landing page for the USDA SBIR STTR programs. So if you forget that number, just go visit the USDA SBIR STTR programs website. We are at our time limit that we set. If there is any last minute questions, we can take those. Otherwise, we will choose to end the webinar at this time.
I have posted the steps how to do the sign up for grants.gov alerts in the chat. So Gavin, you can look at that. All right, thank you everyone for attending this workshop session, and all the slides and webinar will be posted in our website. And as always, do not be hesitant to reach out to SBIR@USDA.gov if you do have any questions or follow-up question from the webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.